The nominations were recently announced for the 94th Academy Awards, and I wanted to make some videos predicting what I think is going to win in most of the categories. In my last video, I predicted what I think is going to win in animated feature and documentary feature. In this second of 10 prediction videos, I'm going to talk about what I think will win in international feature and film editing. Here we go. First up is international feature film. The nominees are Drive My Car from Japan, Flee from Denmark, The Hand of God from Italy, Lunana, A Yak in the Classroom from Bhutan, and The Worst Person in the World from Norway. So I think there are some categories that have a lot of suspense, that we're not sure what might win. There's not just 2 potential winners, there's 3 or even 4, and we'll get to some of those down the road. But I don't think that's necessarily the case in international feature, for a very clear reason. The frontrunner, Drive My Car, got in for adapted screenplay, director, and picture. Now, I'm not sure if it's necessarily always the case that if an international film gets into Best Picture, that it has to win international feature, but I think it definitely helps. I think if Drive My Car had not gotten in for director and picture, this would actually be a really difficult category to predict. Because outside of maybe Lunana, which I have not heard of, I don't think that one has a shot in this very stacked category. I feel like you could make the case for the other 4 movies to potentially win. As I talked about in my previous video, where I discussed animated feature and documentary feature, I think Flee has a small chance of winning one of these. It seems weird to me that it would show up in 3 different categories and lose all 3. I feel kind of bad for the filmmakers to sit there in the auditorium and hear their movie in 3 different categories and then lose all 3 times. Like, they'll be like, what do I have to do to win this thing? So I have this feeling that Flee could win in one of the 3. I don't think it would win in more than one, but I'm pretty sure if Flee were to win in one of the 3 categories, it would be in documentary feature. I feel like that's the one where there's a little bit of room for a surprise. I don't see a major surprise in international feature. I don't think Flee is getting in. I've read amazing reviews on The Hand of God from Italy. I feel like without Drive My Car in the category, The Hand of God could take this. And then, of course, there is so much passion and love for The Worst Person in the World. Many people were thinking that could have gotten into lead actress. It might have gotten close, we'll never know. But The Worst Person in the World did get into original screenplay. I would say that was one of the biggest surprises on Oscar nominations morning, was hearing the title The Worst Person in the World in original screenplay. Very few people, I feel like, were predicting that. So obviously there's a lot of love for The Worst Person in the World. That is going to be very close. I actually could see that happening. Even though Drive My Car won a bunch of critics groups, it got in for adapted screenplay, director, and picture, I could see a late surge for The Worst Person in the World. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that The Worst Person in the World takes international feature, because I have just seen so much adoration for that movie. I don't think that Drive My Car is 100% here. I think it's closer to like 98. But I would comfortably say, because of that director and that picture nomination, I think Drive My Car pretty much has this one in the bag. Any other winner in this category would be a shock like no other. Even Hand of God, even Worst Person in the World. So my prediction for the winner of international feature film is Drive My Car from Japan. Next up is film editing. The nominees are Hank Corwin for Don't Look Up, Joe Walker for Dune, Pamela Martin for King Richard, Peter Sabiris for The Power of the Dog, and Myron Kirstein and Andrew Weissblum for Tick, Tick, Boom. One of my favorite Oscar nominations this year is Tick, Tick, Boom getting in for film editing. That is pretty unheard of for a movie to not make it in for picture or director, and then pick up kind of a random nomination in the film editing category. Usually, year to year, the 5 nominees in film editing are also in picture, or if it's a specific kind of movie where there's just a lot of editing that you can't ignore. I just think the editing in Tick, Tick, Boom is so creative, so dazzling. It's handled so beautifully in that movie. And I think this was a nomination that had to happen, even though Tick, Tick, Boom only showed up in 2 categories. It only got editing and lead actor for Andrew Garfield, which was disappointing to me because one of my absolute favorite films of 2021 is Tick, Tick, Boom. I predicted it to get in for picture. I really, really wanted it to get in for picture. I wanted it to get in for lead actor more, so I'm happy that Garfield managed that nomination. After missing at BAFTA, I was a little nervous, but I was very happy to see him get in. I would have loved Tick, Tick, Boom to have gotten that 10th picture slot, but at least it showed up here. It's not just a lone nominee. I think it's really neat. It got into editing. Having said that, I do not see Tick, Tick, Boom winning in this category. I think that's pretty much, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but because it doesn't have any love in other categories outside of actor, I just don't think that Tick, Tick, Boom will be able to win this. The other 2 I don't see winning film editing are Don't Look Up and King Richard. I would put King Richard in 4th. I don't think that's the movie we think of when we think of great film editing. I'm really happy that King Richard got a few nominations. It didn't just get a nomination for Will Smith or picture, like it got into some technical categories too, so that's fantastic. I don't see King Richard winning. I would put King Richard in 4th and then Don't Look Up in 3rd. I could see maybe Don't Look Up winning something, because right now it managed a few categories. There wasn't a whole lot of enthusiasm for the movie. I think Don't Look Up is going to go home empty-handed on Oscar night. I don't think it's going to win anything. I almost feel like if it were to win something, this would probably be it. But I don't know. There is some crazy editing in that movie, so I could see it being considered. It wouldn't be the shock of a century if it won this, but I don't think it's going to win. So I feel like this race comes down to either Dune or The Power of the Dog. I think clearly the logical winner of film editing is Dune. I think the editing in that film is extraordinary. I think it's fantastic. It's a long movie, so there's a lot of editing in it. That might make the win a reality. But The Power of the Dog overperformed in every way it could. I mean, The Power of the Dog showed up in sound. Let me say that again. The Power of the Dog showed up in sound. I mean, it's this quiet movie. Why would that show up in sound? Clearly, there is a great passion for this film. It got 12 nominations total. I think one way The Power of the Dog could win film editing, if enough voters are just checking The Power of the Dog on their list. They just check it off for sound, check it off for film editing, check it off for cinematography, and are not really paying attention to the other nominees. So I think The Power of the Dog could win this. I would still put it kind of on a level with Don't Look Up, in kind of like a second, third place scenario. I think the clear winner here is Dune. I just feel like Dune, it got into picture. It didn't quite make it in for director, although I'm pretty sure Denis Villeneuve was probably the 6th slot. He probably came close. It got in for adapted screenplay. That was something I didn't anticipate. There is a lot of passion for Dune. So I think Dune is going to win at least 2 technical awards, maybe more than 2. And I think one place to award it is in film editing. Again, my choice in this category would probably be Tick, Tick, Boom. I thought the editing in that movie was amazing. I don't really think of great editing when I think of Don't Look Up, King Richard, or The Power of the Dog. I'm going to be quietly hoping for a surprise win for Tick, Tick, Boom in this category. If enough people see that film in the weeks to come, I think it could pull off an upset. But for now, my prediction for the winner of film editing is Joe Walker for Dune. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what you think is going to win in international feature and film editing. Do you agree with my choices? Do you think I have it all wrong? We'll find out on March 27th. Stay tuned for my 3rd video in the coming days, where I will predict the winners of Best Visual Effects and Best Sound. See you then!